Greetings, honored guests, and welcome once again to the House of Branching Paths. Please come in, and worry not. The circle has taken this fine weather into account on this day. Please follow me, and I will lead you to the circle. As we leave the foyer, please mind the credenza in the hall. It only just returned yesterday. We would not want to scare it off again so soon. Tonight, the circle has convened in the garden, a place of special importance to Lady Morgana thanks to its many fountains. They meet this evening to discuss the revitalization of our house and your most crucial part of it. But I shall allow them to illuminate this further, as we have arrived. I shall leave you now in the very capable hands of the circle. Guest, you have made your return. I do hope your journey was not a treacherous one.
No, I should think not. Emrys, haven't you noticed that the entrance gates and garden walkways have already started to brighten themselves up a bit?
This is very true. You see, honored guests, your visits are of the utmost importance. Our dear House of Branching Paths relishes having new ears for stories to fall upon.
There seems to be more light in our rooms, more life. Why, even the garden is in full bloom.
I haven't seen many of these in years. Orchids, dahlias, carnations, why, even the Narcissus flowers are looking quite energized.
Oh. Narcissus. If only he could see the beauty of the flower with his namesake.
If he saw their beauty, we may have a part 2 of his story.
Oh. Do be kind. His is a tale of tragedy, no matter the way you frame it. And I think, my friend, I do believe I see the crackle of a story on those flames.
The fire burns bright,
with stories ever knowing. Of course, I always have a fondness for a tale that involves my dear waters, and shows the power and even a bit of magic that follows along with the waves and pops along each little bubble. And this story very well may demonstrate the madness of our quest to complete our beloved circle.
Ah, yes, beloved it is, and beloved are the two who are central to this tragedy.
Our tale comes to us from the great Roman Empire.
From a poet you may know by the name of Ovid. Ovid was the author of many a wonderful tale, many of which were from the same collection as this, in the book Metamorphoses.
Written in year 8 of our common era, we bring you the tragedy of Echo and Narcissus. In an age long ago, there was this loveliest of nymphs that gave birth to a child whom, even then, one could fall in love with, called Narcissus. Being consulted as to whether the child would live a long life, the seer with prophetic vision replied,
If he does not discover himself.
For a long time the augur's pronouncement appeared empty words, and as Narcissus grew, he grew ever more lovely. Yet it was common to hear him say,
I cannot give anyone my time of day, for it is too precious.
I myself am precious, am I not?
And in this land you could also find a nymph by the name of Echo. Dearest Echo had been doomed with a way of speaking that not many could understand or find agreeable, sometimes even to herself.
Echo was doomed to speak in this sort by the goddess Juno, because often when she might have caught the nymphs lying beneath her Jupiter on the mountain slopes, Echo knowingly held her in long conversations while the nymphs fled. When Juno realized this, she said,
I shall give you less power over that tongue by which I have been deluded, and the briefest ability to speak.
and what she threatened she did. Echo only repeats the last of what is spoken and returns the words she hears.
Now one day, Echo saw Narcissus wandering through the remote fields, and she was inflamed, following him secretly, and the more she followed, the closer she burned with fire. She thought to herself, "Oh, how often I wanted to get close to him with words and call him with sweet entreaties. My nature denies it, and it will not let me begin. But I am ready for what it will allow me to do. To wait for sounds to which I may return words."
By chance, Narcissus, separated from his faithful band of followers, had called out,
Is anyone here?
"Here," I replied.
Come to me.
"Come to me." I felt much shame, but could not stop following.
Why do you run from me?
"Why do you run from me?"
Here, let us meet together.
"Together!" I called out happily. I appeared out of the woods to put my arms around his neck, but he ran from me.
Oh. Away with these encircling hands! May I die before what's mine is yours!
"What's mine is yours." I watched as he ran away. My beautiful love. I was so ashamed, so terribly sad, that I hid in the leaves and lonely caves, where I stayed to gaze upon the world, and the world could not gaze upon me any longer. But I watched all that unfolded next.
As Narcissus had scorned Echo, so he had scorned the other nymphs of the rivers and mountains. So he had scorned the companies of young men. Then one of those who had been mocked, lifting hands to the skies, said,
"So may he himself love, and so may he fail to command what he loves."
The goddess Rhamnusia heard this just request.
There was an unclouded fountain with silver bright water, which neither shepherds nor goats grazing the hills, nor other flocks touched, that no animal or bird disturbed, not even a branch falling from a tree. Grass was around it, fed by the moisture nearby, and a grove of trees that prevented the sun from warming the place.
Here Narcissus, tired from the heat, lies down, drawn to it by its look and by the fountain.
Yet, while he desires to quench his thirst, a different thirst is created. While he drinks, he is seized by the vision of his reflected form.
What is this I see? A bodiless dream. 2 stars that take the form of eyes. Waves of locks that Bacchus would adore. Youthful cheeks fit for Apollo.
For he was admiring everything for which he is himself admired. Unknowingly he desires himself, and the one who praises is himself praised, and while he courts is courted, so that equally he inflames and burns.
How often I have given my lips in vain to this deceptive pool. I shall embrace the neck of this love I seek.
And Narcissus plunged into the water. What he has seen he does not understand, but what he sees he is on fire for, and the same air both seduces and deceives his eyes.
Has anyone ever loved more cruelly than I? Do you remember in your life that lasts so many centuries, in all the long ages past, anyone who pined away like this? I am enchanted and I see, but I cannot reach what I see, and what enchants me?
So deep in error is this lover.
And it increases my pain the more, that no wide sea separates us. No road, no mountains, no walls with locked doors. We are only kept apart by a little water. Whenever I extend my lips to the clear liquid, he tries to raise his lips to me. He desires to be held. You would think he could be touched. It is such a small thing that prevents our love.
Narcissus called out,
Whoever you are, come out to me. Why do you disappoint me, you extraordinary boy? Where do you vanish when I reach for you? Surely my form and years are not what you flee from, and I am the one that the nymphs have loved. You offer me some unknown hope with your friendly look, and when I stretch out my arms to you, you reach out yours. When I smile, you smile back, and I have often seen your tears when I weep tears. You return the gesture of my head with a nod, and from the movements of your lovely mouth, I guess that you reply with words that do not reach my ears.
Our beloved Narcissus could go on no longer this way.
Now sadness takes away my strength. Not much time is left for me to live, and I am cut off in the prime of youth. Nor is dying painful to me, laying down my sadness in death. I wish that him I love might live on, but we shall die united. 2 in one spirit.
He spoke, and returned madly to the same reflection, and his tears stirred the water, and the image became obscured in the rippling pool. As he saw it vanishing, he cried out,
Where do you fly to? Stay, cruel one! Do not abandon one who loves you. I am allowed to gaze at that which I cannot touch, and so provide food for my miserable passion.
While he wept, he tore at the top of his clothes, then struck his chest with hands of marble. As he saw this reflected in the dissolving waves, he could bear it no longer. But as yellow wax melts in a light flame, as morning frost thaws in the sun, so he was weakened and melted by love, and worn away little by the hidden fire. He no longer retains his color, no longer has life and strength, and that form so pleasing to look at. Nor has he that body which Echo loved. His last words as he looked into the familiar pool were,
"Alas, in vain, beloved boy!
Alas, in vain, beloved boy!
Goodbye!"
Goodbye!
He laid down his weary head in the green grass, death closing those eyes that had marveled at their lord's beauty. But there was no body. Everyone who searched came upon a flower instead of his Narcissus, with white petals surrounding a yellow heart.
And still Echo's love endures, increased by the sadness of rejection. Her sleepless thoughts waste her sad form, and her body's strength vanishes into the air. Only her bones and the sound of her voice are left. They say were changed to shapes of stone. She hides in the woods, no longer to be seen on the hills, but to be heard by everyone. It is sound that lives in her.
Sound that lives.
The end.
I always find myself a bit weepy after that story.
Well, I always tell dear Echo not to lament Narcissus any longer. He wasn't what you'd call, how do you say it, Emrys? A catch?
Like a fish.
Oh, I don't know. New writers coming up with new terms every day. Although with so much talk in our story about being inflamed by love, you'd think someone might come up with something to help in young lovers' quest for love. Maybe something to do with fire?
Well, perhaps you'd call it a name that would invoke the process of burning, as they would not have yet met.
Kindling, wood, tinder?
Ooh. I like that.
Well, dear friend, as we try to uplift our spirits after Echo and Narcissus' tale, why don't we find some light in a little poetry?
I do always love poems.
Oh, honored guest, the next selection comes from American poet Emily Dickinson.
First published in Fascicle 13 in 1861.
Hope is a thing with feathers. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Hope is the thing with feathers.
And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm.
Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words,
and never stops at all.
The end.
Perhaps we can take advice from Emily and look to the hope perching around us on our quest.
Yes, I suppose we may tell our honored guests that our search so far has come up empty, but we are by no means giving up.
The circle never stops.
And neither does that hope. Hope even stayed for dearest Echo. I've found she quite likes it when I sing. Often Echo will answer in the melody, and if you listen closely, honored guests, you may speak with Echo too.
But for now, honored guests, we must say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes, my friend, I do believe I see the crackle of a story on those flames. But for next time, the fire burns low, with stories ever glowing. Guests, honored guests, come, follow me, for you mustn't stay at the house for too long, or you may become a permanent resident. Stay close behind, my guests. Don't bump into the credenza. And whatever you do, don't answer any voices you hear on the way out.
Not just... Any beans,
but
my boy.
do come back.
Magic beans.
Hearing the circle stories brings me to life.
Brings me to life.
You have been listening to The House of Branching Paths, a theatrical podcast experience created by Mark Kilmer and Caroline Miller. For more of our content, join us on our Patreon at patreon.com/The House of Branching Paths. For links to all of our social media and to find a comprehensive list of contributors, please follow our link tree below. And for more stories like this and beyond, be sure to visit your local library. Thank you for joining us, honored guests, and remember, the fire may burn low, but the stories are ever glowing.